Hare Krishna. So we're going to describe the glories of the Ekadasi known as Saphala Ekadasi. Phala means fruit, Saphala means with fruit. And so on this particular day, Krishna is pleased with an offering of fruit. Anything which is seasonally available can be gathered and offered to Krishna for his pleasure. According to sitting time, it occurs tomorrow, the 9th of January. Now, in the scriptures, Krishna has described personally to Maharaj Yudhishthira the glories of this Ekadasi. He describes the story of a crown prince called Lumpaka, who was extremely sinful. He would engage with the wives of other men, he would engage with prostitutes, and he would go out of his way to criticize Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Very offensive. And the king, seeing that his own son was beyond restitution, sent his son to the forest. There, the crown prince decided, he was feeling resentful. So he took his sinful activities one step further. At night time, he would go to the houses of the king, people living in the kingdom, and he would steal from the houses whatever he wanted to steal. Even if he was caught, the citizens just let him go, thinking that he was the son of the king. Now, it so happened that on Saphala Ekadasi, it was very cold that day because December, January is winter in India. It was very cold and he was in tatters. His clothes, he was a beggar, so he hardly had proper clothes. He couldn't sleep that night because of cold. His teeth were chattering, and the next day morning he woke like he was trying to sleep. He couldn't sleep, but he rose practically on the verge of death, weakened, hardly able to gather food together. He somehow gathered some fruit, and in his desperation, with a sincere call, he just called out to Govinda. And it's very astonishing that he could remember Govinda, but there must have been some hint of pious credit from the past, devotional pious credit from the past in his heart. And remembering Govinda, he just said, "Oh Govinda, please accept this offering of fruit." And it was on the Dwadasi day that he did this. But he offered the fruit to Govinda, and with difficulty he began to eat that prasadam. Krishna actually heard the sincere call, and even though it was fruit gathered by a sinful person, it was placed on an improper plate, like on the floor of the forest. Yet, seeing the mood and the sincerity of Lumpaka's call, Krishna accepted the offering. And so Lumpaka honored this prasadam to break his Ekadasi fast, which was involuntarily done. Instantly, there was a white horse that appeared in front of him, and a voice that he heard in the sky, "O Lumpaka, you have vanquished all the sins by your performance of this Ekadasi. Ascend on this horse, go back to your father's kingdom, and take your kingdom. Everything will be arranged for you." Seeing the transformation of his circumstances by the accidental following of this Ekadasi, Lumpaka's own heart was transformed. He ascended a horse and he went back to his father's kingdom, where he was greeted with affection and respect, and in due course of time he did take up the rulership of that kingdom. But in his heart was generated an extremely strong faith for this particular Ekadasi and every Ekadasi in general, and he became a great devotee of the Lord. The intent of this pastime is to say that there are some particular items of devotional service that are very, very powerful, and the following of Ekadasi is one of them. It is known as a Hari Vasara. So this is those days that are particularly dear to Hari. And these days are known to be like mothers of devotion. Just as the mother nourishes us with her milk and affection, on these days, if we can dedicate some time to hearing and chanting about Krishna, then we are particularly fortunate. And our devotional service is so nourished by the presence of these mother-like days. On this day, devotees typically try to minimize the amount of effort or work they have at home. So they reduce their cooking to what is minimally required. So of course they avoid grain and beans and peas and any other form of pulses of grain. But they also try and reduce their bodily activities so that more effort can be focused on hearing and chanting about Krishna. That is the main purpose of Ekadasi. On this day also, ISKCON Sydney is offering a service to all the Vaishnavas, wherein there's Ekadasi, non-grain prasadam, which is being cooked in the temple of different varieties. And if devotees would like to order this prasadam, some of their time for hearing and chanting may be saved. So this in summary is the glory of Saphala Ekadasi and how and an instance of how dear this Ekadasi is to Krishna. Following this Ekadasi leads to extraordinary benefit, and for us as devotees, practicing devotees who are trying to establish our relationship with the Lord, understanding the glories of this Ekadasi, following it with great affection and devotion, will lead to great affection and devotion in our heart for Lord Govinda. Hare Krishna.